Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I was going to say to you, I hope if you're in the UK that is, I hope you're staying safe. But now it's about staying alert, and I'm sure we've all seen the memes of the BG video, staying alert, staying alert. So that is the latest guidance, and I know for some of us, as I talk about in some of the blog posts and the videos I have done on furlough, and generally about this pandemic situation that we're in, I totally respect we're all going to be in very different situations and circumstances. It's very an interesting time because we're faced with this blanket of COVID-19, but from the conversations I'm having with friends, family and clients, we're all having different challenges along the way at different times. We're all suffering the ups and the downs of change, which is normal during life anyway, and any change that you have, any small change, any big change, the beginning and ending of something. And I think we are day to day still navigating the COVID-19 waters. So I completely respect that some of you will be handling this in very different and unique ways. And I just want you to know that I completely honour and respect that. But I'd like to share with you some tips that will help you boost your career during furlough. And you may think, well, how is that possible if I'm not working at the moment? Hi Julie, nice to see you again. And last week I talked about the ups and the downs generally of being in furlough, because this is a new situation for oh, sorry, good evening. Sorry, my broadcast just got interrupted there. I think there's been something happening with the Wi-Fi today, but anyway. So I did talk about the ups and downs of furlough, which is generally how to sort of combat and sort of ride into those negative feelings. It's a bit like being on a train and going through a tunnel. You know that the tunnel's not going to last forever. It might go on a little bit while, but we come out the other side. And that's what resilience and some of the other themes I've been talking about recently are all about. Not denying those feelings, but really processing them, understanding what we can learn. So as I said last week, I talked about the ups and downs of furlough rather. Next week, I'm going to do another video on furlough, and that's really about how can I change and improve my career during furlough. Now I'm going to share a few little quick tips with you about boosting your career. Good day, thank you Ture, nice to see you on this video. So as I said, I'll give you some tips now, and also I'd encourage you to visit my website www.sarah-j.com. If you look at the blogs page, I've put a thank you Ture, nice comments. I've put some blogs on there about boosting your career during furlough. I've got another couple of those coming up as well. So you've got these videos and these blogs to refer to. So I understand completely that being furloughed, that's a unique situation for us in the UK. It's one of those words we probably didn't have in our dictionaries or in our vocabulary a while ago, but it's a word we're bounding about all the time, just like all those other F words that we might use time and again. So what is the deciding factor when it comes to boosting your career during this time, or indeed at any time when we're suffering a bit of a setback, a bit of a change that we're unable to deal with? Eventually, it comes down to that's about self-leadership. I hope the Wi-Fi is okay, it keeps tripping out a bit. I call it inside-out leadership, personal leadership. It's about not denying the changes that we're going through, not ignoring them, not burying our heads in the sand, but really confronting those emotions, those feelings, those changes head on. And I'm not saying to be positive 24/7 all the time if that is not feeling natural to you. Of course, I'm going to give you tools, and I always do, about edging yourself forward, like slowly putting your foot on the gas pedal. But really, this comes down to, and it comes down to this in any aspect of your life, self-leadership, inside-out leadership. We can only really change our outside world, our outside results, or learn to deal with them more effectively when we lead from the inside, rather than sort of pointing the magnifying glass, pointing the finger at somebody else. What we can influence, what we can control, and I will be going into this in more detail in a little while, is what we feel, how we react, or rather, not react, but take a deep breath, and how we choose to respond, because we do have a choice. We don't have to knee jerk. So here's some tips I'm going to start off with tips for your career, and then maybe if you're in business yourself, things you can think about. So, as I mentioned last week, you can still, as I understand it, talk to your boss, keep in touch with your colleagues, but actually, as I mentioned, you could speak to your boss and say, hang on a minute, let's get some feedback. What learning and development can I do at this time? Now, some of you may still be on furlough because the scheme's been extended, but some of us will be going back on a kind of part-time basis. Oh, Julie, that's amazing. You've been using the time to learn. Lots of online courses. Yeah, brilliant. I've actually got a learning plan for COVID. When this all kicked off, for myself, I thought, you know what, there's so many courses I haven't finished yet, like things I want to do to add to my coaching skills. So I think that's really amazing. I mean, I think so much about the human journey is about learning, whether that's learning from other people or learning from our own experiences. If we keep repeating the same things and getting stuck, we don't learn and develop. So that's fantastic that you're doing that. Really well done, amazing. But you can speak to your boss, get some feedback, and understand, you know, right, let's think about this. How would I, when I go back, improve my career? Be genuinely interested in what's going on in the business, even though it might feel a bit weird going back. Sometimes it takes time to get back into the groove of it, you know, of if you have to commute in or if you're working from home, it takes a little bit of time to get into the routine. Set yourself a routine, you know, write your list for what you're going to do that day, but really think about, you know, being interested in the business and trying to engage yourself in the business, and think about your role before furlough. That's like BF, like BC and AD, BF before furlough. What were some of the roles and activities, and this could apply in a career or a business, what were some of the things that I was doing that really weren't adding any benefit, that weren't that important, stuff that I thought was important and wasn't? Has it given you the opportunity to really focus on what your activities and goals are, and to have a really open discussion with your company or your boss about, okay, I'm coming back now, or you may not be coming back yet. I'm coming back and I need to understand, I'd like to understand what's important to the organisation now, what's important to the business now, because I could bet your bottom dollar that the business or organisation you left a few months ago is in a very different place now, and that will require some flexibility to understand and demonstrate your own leadership by asking the question, what can I do to take the business forward? And are there things that I used to do that actually I didn't enjoy, so I don't mind dropping them? Or are there new goals that I need to really work at and suggest to really move the business and organisation forward? Being proactive, because I suspect a lot of your managers and leaders will, or even if you're running your own business, will have been under a great amount of pressure. Dealing with furloughed staff is going to be something new for them as well. And especially with all the guidelines coming out with going back part of the time, part of the money being subsidised by the government, the job retention scheme, part of it being subsidised by business. So I bet there will be very, very different business goals, and really seek the opportunities to think, hang on, is this an opportunity to do something that I would like to do, and to maybe not do some things that weren't really that important, or certainly aren't important now, you know, as we're going through this furlough situation. And what you could do is, whether you are intending to stay where you are, or perhaps consider a new career, a career change, it could be a big career change or a shift in your career, really think about your career plan. Think about, okay, sometimes at the moment it might be difficult sometimes when we're under stress, it can be difficult to think too far into the future. But how far into the future can you think? Great if you can think 10 years, 5 years, 2 year, 1 year, 6 months, or even, okay, in 1 year, and then work it back month by month, or whatever sort of time frame works for you and doesn't cause too much anguish or resistance. think about, do you know what, I really need to write out my career plan, whether that's, you know, on a bit of paper, on a PowerPoint, on a word table, but really think about your career plan and what your goals are for different time segments, so you've got something to aim towards and you're not sort of drifting like a boat without a paddle. And what you can also do is perhaps have a look at LinkedIn. Have a look at LinkedIn. I'm always talking about LinkedIn. It's like you don't have to pay for it. You can pay for some elements, but it is a fantastic research tool. Are there jobs or people doing jobs or friends, peers, colleagues that are doing things you think, do you know what, I'd love to do that? Have a little look at what they're calling themselves job title wise. Have a look at the job descriptions that fit that job title or that area you want to go in, and have a look at it and think, okay, what are the different objectives? What are the different areas of that role? And almost start to build your own ideal job portfolio or role profile. That's the word I want to use. LinkedIn is fantastic for that, to think about, you know, right, what are my key skills? What do I love doing? And typically the things that we love doing is where the time flies. And really think about, how can I almost write my ideal role profile instead of like blowing about like a leaf in the wind. And again, can't recommend LinkedIn highly enough for that. You can set up job alerts so that you can start to see, oh gosh, I didn't know that job existed. Oh look, that's similar to what I want to do. How can I build and write the bullet points that go into my ideal job role? And as I say, look at your peers, look at your colleagues and go, do you know what? I'd really fancy running a business like that or having a career like that. Or I want to stay where I am and I want to be in that person's position or a similar position in a few years. How do I bring that in and write it into my career plan, write it into an ideal job profile? Think about how you can improve your relationship with your boss when you get back, if you are employed. You know, it's been a stressful time for all of us. So have a think back to, what were the times that I reacted? What were the times where I wasn't very proactive? Because typically businesses like proactiveness. They don't like people to moan and be negative, because businesses and organisations are all about taking a step forward. Sure, your organisation, your company will have a different culture, a different pace of working, a different way of getting things done, but really think about, okay, so given the organisation and culture I'm in, how can I improve my relationship with my boss? That could even be a conversation you have when you get back. This is a perfect opportunity to do Control-Alt-Delete on your career and reboot it like you would a computer. And, you know, so that's something that you can do. If you've got a business, for example, what are some of the businesses, some of the services that you think, do you know what, I've noticed on social media, people want to have this kind of service, or I've noticed people talking about this, so is there a different service I can offer? This is a fantastic time, and this is where self-leadership, inside-out leadership comes in, to reboot, regroup and reinvent. So that can apply whether you are, you know, planning to stay where you are, planning to start up a new business, deciding to change your business. You know, it can apply to a number of different areas. There is something that I did want to mention tonight, and I've mentioned it a good few weeks ago actually on a video. And there's an author called Stephen Covey, C-O-V-E-Y, and he's got a fantastic book, and it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's an absolute it's a classic book. It's very much a business book, a leadership and business book, but actually you can apply those things to different areas of your lives. And he talks about how you can influence things you can influence, and there's certain things that you can't influence. So there are certain things in our lives that are within our influence, and there are certain things bigger than us that are just outside of our control. And I'm just going to lift up this little diagram here to see if you can see it. In the middle here, I don't know if you can see it, you've got circle of influence, on the outside circle of concern. So I hope you can see that. That's something you can draw for yourself. And circle of concern means that there are things bigger than you. That is a circle of concern, but there are things that we've learned to influence better, but we can't really do a lot about the fact that this virus has appeared. So it's really important we have that inner circle of things we can influence. And how do we identify some of these things? So ask yourself these questions. Where are you spending most of your time? Are you spending it in that inner circle of things that you can influence, or are you getting wrapped up in this bigger worldwide, if you can call it that, circle of concern that really we cannot always influence? Another question to ask yourself, are you currently being as personally effective as you can in your life? Again, as somebody said on the video tonight, you know, studying, influencing what I learn, how I develop. Are you currently being personally effective as you can be in your life? And that's really using the circle of influence. And what strategies, easy for me to say, what strategies and tools can you use to transform your life? And again, that is within the circle of influence. And this is where inside out leadership comes in. It's all about self-leadership. Circle of influence means we can do something about them. So everything I've talked about tonight, discussing with your boss, thinking about your business, thinking about your service, thinking about your career plan, whether that's improving where it is now, changing it where it is now, or identifying a whole new career. Because even if you're going back to the same business or career, it's going to look very, very different, and it's an opportunity to reset goals. So these are all classic examples of things that are in your circle of influence. And the circle of concern is, as I mentioned, things that we might be worried about them, but we can't do too much about them. So that's Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a really good book to read. And actually for future videos, I think I might start to look at some of those 7 habits each week perhaps, and then we can talk through them and I can apply them to where you are in your situation now, in real life, so to speak. So just to wrap up tonight, what I've talked about is, you know, how you can boost your career during furlough, understanding that we're all in a very different place. We are now in a stay alert situation, certainly in the UK. Different countries will be in different places, and how you can use that to boost your career. Have that conversation with your boss. Provide solutions. If you are thinking about a career change, start thinking about your career plan. Have a look at LinkedIn. What are the jobs that you think, do you know, I'd love to do that? What are the skill sets? What are the things they're doing within that role that you would love to do? And start writing your own role profile. Set timelines for your career change. And then sort of be flexible enough to offer solutions to your boss. Get that feedback. Do a bit more learning and development, but get that feedback and understand. Be really curious and compassionate at this time where businesses look very different to they did a few months ago. So we are in a bit of a different world. What doesn't change is have that inside out leadership, that self-leadership to drive your career forward, because there are always going to be challenges in life. I mean, you know, in the UK, they're opening things up a little bit. It's still not as open as it was, and quite rightly so. But actually, you know, we don't know what the world's going to look like in a few months. We never did anyway. I think we were just kidding ourselves. But now, you know, we've just got to be able to be agile, to be flexible, and to adapt accordingly. What doesn't change is the ability to really think about, what can I influence? What are the things I just can't influence and I shouldn't even be worrying about? Because, quite frankly, nobody can. So those are a few tips this evening about boosting your career during I'm sorry if it's been tripping in and out connectivity wise, but next week I'm going to go much more into how I can change my career during furlough, because I'm certainly, you know, talking to a lot of people that have used this time to think, hang on, I've been doing this a long while and I don't really feel this is something I want to do forevermore, or I've been suffering with the same issues at work. I need to change my mindset, my career shift mindset, my career mindset, how I react to things. So that's going to be next week. I'll remind you about that during the week. But yeah, so there's my tips for boosting your career during furlough. Happy to accept any comments. I'll post the video afterwards. Feel free to make any comments, any suggestions. Happy to take your suggestions for future videos. But it's been a pleasure sharing these tips with you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of your day and your weekend. Thank you very much for tuning in, and any questions, where's that come from? Feel free to get in touch with me. Have a great evening, day, wherever you are. Thank you.